Genesis chapter 1, starting from verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens." So God created the great sea creatures, and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day.
Now, a number of years ago, a member of our youth group went to work for an orphanage in South Africa. I happened to be traveling with work, and I had the joy of visiting them in that period. They'd been working in the school that was attached to the orphanage. And the school policy was that no child could graduate from the year in which they were studying without passing the end-of-year exams for that year. And so this individual was working in a school, and in the class they had 17-year-olds who'd failed to pass, alongside 11-year-olds. Now, you may not agree with the policy, but I asked the head of the orphanage why it was that there were so many older children still struggling with the 11-year-old exams. The reply was fascinating. He said this: "They'd never had time as children sitting on the floor learning to put triangular objects in triangular holes. That sort of thing." In other words, they didn't have the basic building blocks of education. Genesis 1 to 11, chapters 1 to 11, form the most basic building blocks of our understanding of this universe. They are, if you like, a word from outside explaining what we find. Given by God, they enable us to make sense of life in his world. And I would suggest that without them, we never manage to graduate, if you like, in terms of real wisdom beyond Key Stage 1. Creation, our environment, humanity, who we are, purpose, why we're here, brokenness, why things aren't as we wish they were, solutions, what might work, what does not work, what has God done about it, society, culture. It really is all here. And I want to encourage you to take out your calendar and to block out Tuesday. And if you can't make Tuesday, then block out Thursday at 12:10, different time, remember, to make sure that this term we get to grips with Key Stage 1, without which we can be the most successful lawyer in the city, the busiest and most successful broker. Our books can be bursting with business. But actually, in terms of understanding this world, God would say, we haven't quite made it past Key Stage 1. So we begin at the beginning. This is, if you like, preschool. Here's an animal shape. Hang your coat up there. First, it's God's world, and he made it. Now, that much cannot be avoided from these opening statement words. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. Darkness was over the face of the deep. The Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning the first day. Now, the word God appears 22 times in the first 23 verses, 30 times in the opening chapters. Were one a creative writing teacher, the red pen would be absolutely all over it. Repetition. And the pattern of writing is highly repetitive throughout. So verses 9 through 13, if you look down, God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together in one place, let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, the waters that were gathered together he called seas, and God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, fruit trees bearing fruit in which their seed according to its kind on the earth." And it was so. And God saw that it was good. Verse 13, and there was evening and there was morning the third day. God said, "Let there be." It was so. God made. God saw. It was good. Evening and morning. And that pattern, you will have noticed, is repeated over and over and over. And it seems that our author really wishes us to learn something about God in relation to this world. And the point is really very simple. It's God's world, God's universe. He made it. Straight away, I think we need to counter what some might be saying to themselves. So are you standing here on a Tuesday lunchtime and suggesting that God did all this in 6 24-hour periods? In other words, William, are you a 6-day creationist? Let me say that I have no doubt that God, should he have wished to do such a thing, certainly could have created the universe in 6 24-hour periods. He is God. By definition, he could do it. But if we treat this text in a kind of adult sort of way, I don't think this text demands such a reading as we take it on its own terms. So just by reading it, you will have seen, and I hope you might study it over this coming week, that the text is highly sophisticated. Arguably, it's the most sophisticated piece of ancient writing we possess. Certainly the ideas within the text could never be invented by humans. Everything in God's creation was good. Would you naturally write that? God made stuff simply by speaking. Would you write that? Light was not the first thing. Life was. Would you write that? Speech came before science, thought before things, words before work. Would you write that? So the pattern and the sophistication and the ideas contained here are of extraordinary sophistication. The author is no fool. And yet, when you look at the text, light is created on the first day, And the sun and the moon aren't created until the fourth day. Now that gives us pause for thought, doesn't it? There's evening and there's morning on the first day, the second day, the third day, and we haven't yet got the sun and the moon. And the author is no idiot. So clearly the author doesn't quite see these 6 days as necessarily consecutive 24-hour periods. And therefore we have to ask, is there another way of seeing this text? And I think there is. I'm not saying that the truth that it contains is not true. I'm saying we must treat texts on their own terms and not read in our thinking to it. You may have been listening to Jordan Peterson. I've just started listening to the second of his pieces on Genesis. I mean, he really makes a psychological reading of Genesis 1, 2, and 3. And I'm wanting us to take the text on its own terms and not read things in. It seems to me the way the text works is that it sees God forming the universe and then filling the universe. And if you like, days 1 to 3 make one block in which he forms the universe, and days 4 through 6, he then appears to fill the universe. I mean, the way we approach literature impacts, doesn't it, the way we assess literature. If you took a telephone directory and said, oh, this is going to be a romantic novel, I mean, you're going to struggle. I mean, maybe the actuaries could manage with it, but actually that's not, if you took an insurance insurance contract and said, oh, well, this is going to be how to, assemble my IKEA furniture or something, you're going to be in big trouble. So what I'm saying is the author, highly sophisticated, he's not an idiot. He clearly doesn't appear to be seeing it as 6 consecutive 24-hour periods, and therefore we should look for the truth that he's looking to convey. And it seems that the truth is really very simple. It's God's world. He made it. God, 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 God. He said, he saw, it was good. Well, I have a couple of reflections. I mean, the more I've thought about it, the more reflections there are. You'll see on your handout there, it just says reflection, but actually, as I've been thinking about it, you've got to be reflections, hasn't it? I don't know where you went on your summer holiday, if you were lucky enough to be able to take one. Some star-gazing space journey with Elon or Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson, perhaps. In the beginning, God. He made it all. Some alpine trekking adventure with timeless travels or and beyond. In the beginning, God. He made it all. Oh, Benidorm, Mallorca, Ibiza, Slough, a friend of mine went to for their holidays. Great destination for a holiday, Slough, the posh part, I'm told. God made it all, even Slough. The biochemist in the laboratory, as she peers into the microscope, God made it all. The astrophysicist in his observatory, as he zooms in the telescope on the far reaches, God made it all. Speaking at a conference a number of years ago, there was a woman there. We were in Sydney in the mountains. There was a woman from Parkes Observatory. If you're Australian, the film The Dish, great film. And she actually worked there. And she looked out, and she'd become a Christian recently because as she looked out, God made it all. No quark, no continent, no cosmos without him. I mean, I was chatting to Alex last Wednesday because we've been speaking on this passage and John 1 in John's Gospel, in the beginning was the Word. And I was talking about creation, and Alex, who gave his testimony just earlier, and he explained his PhD to me, and honestly, after 5 minutes, I was absolutely none the wiser. And so I said to him, well, how many galaxies are there? Anyway, he went away to think about it and sent me this little paper. There are estimated to be anywhere between 100 billion and 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. That is, in the bit of the universe that we can see, because the light from these galaxies has had sufficient time to reach us. God made it all. Reflection 2. There's a personal God behind it all. We're not just some random chance. It's not the lotto of life. We're not just a lucky number. We don't look out on blind indifference, chance. There's a living God. He made it all. Reflection 3, what he made was good. I wonder if that explains at least why all of us have some sense of we want something better because what we come from was something that was good. As I say, I don't think we would necessarily make that up. But we have a deep, deep kind of disease in this world, knowing that it should be. It was good. So there's the first point. You can think of countless other reflections, I'm sure. Here's a second thought. It is God's world and he rules it. I think that's another thing that our author wants us to get hold of. The idea of order and authority and executive power runs right the way through the piece. Executive power is everywhere. Verse 3, God said. Verse 6, God said. Verse 11, God said. Verse 14, God said. Verse 7, it was so. Verse 9, it was so. Verse 11, it was so. Verse 9, it was good, and God saw that it was good, verse 12, and God saw that it was good, verse 18. Here is absolute executive authority of the sort of which you and I can only dream. I mean, your CEO, she might say, let there be. You and I might desire, let there be. Reuben Amorim may say, let there be. Sir Keir Starmer may long for, let there be. But every desire, every plan of man appears so rapidly wrapped up and entangled in a web of restrictive failure. Inadequacies of our own making, incompetencies of others' failure, unexpected events. I asked yesterday a group of people, is there anything, anybody with such executive authority? And somebody said, well, I think Alexa might have it. Well, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But then if you think about it, were you or I to have such executive authority, would it be good? I think it would be terrifying. In fact, we do everything we can to try and prevent people having such executive authority. Not God. God has absolute authority, and it's not only in the word that he speaks and in creation, it's also expressed in the order and the categorization of his creation, which is created by his word. There's order in the separation of the night from the day and the light from the darkness and the expanse above from the expanse below. And there's order in the gathering, let the waters under the heavens be gathered. And there's order in the different kinds, according to its kind, each according to its kind. There's categorization, there's order. Rodney Stark, one of the leading sociologists at the end of the early part of the 21st century, written numerous books. I think people like Tom Holland probably lean on him quite considerably. In his book, For the Glory of God, he has a chapter on God's handiwork. Christian theology was essential for the rise of modern science. You wouldn't have modern science if you didn't believe there was a God who was dependable and ordered and structured and good. Everything we consider to be random. But it's not only the executive power in his word and the ordering and the categorization that indicates that it's God's word and he rules it. We also have the remarkable verses 14 to 17. And just have a glance down at those verses. God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years, and let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And it's lovely. In the old version, he says, and he made the stars also. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And do you see, in the time in which it was written, people believed that the sun and the moon, they were divinity in some sense. Well, they are set there to rule, but there's a God above them, says our author. And so it's God's world, and he rules it. And you may set your patterns according to the constellations, all the rest of it, but that's just mumbo-jumbo, because there is a God above. He rules the sun and the moon. And you may follow the equinox, and you may head off down to Stonehenge at the summer solstice, but that's just mumbo-jumbo, because there's a God above it all, and he rules it all through his word as he orders, separates, even the sun and the moon. And he made the stars also. And he governs it with his word. A couple more reflections. Here's a quick fire list. You may not follow it all, don't worry. We're not atheists, the faith system that there is no God. It's a faith system. We don't need to have that faith system. It actually doesn't stand to logic. We're not deists, the idea that God kind of wound the whole universe up and then disappeared off on his summer vacations. No, there's an active God personally behind everything. We're not pantheists, the belief that God is kind of identified with his universe. No, God is apart from his universe. We're not dualists, that there's a power that is good and a power that is bad, and they're fighting it out between each other. No, there's one God over all. We're not animists. We don't believe that the tree has got some sort of spirit in it. And 22 Bishopsgate has, well, it's got all sorts of spirits in it, but let's not worry about that. But we're not animists. We're monotheists. There is one God. He rules over all. Here's another reflection. I don't know if you thought about this. Nature. We talk about nature, don't we? Christians. I wonder if this doctrine of creation isn't a prime candidate for the most neglected doctrine in biblical Christianity. Be one of the prime candidates. We talk about, nature does this, nature does that. No. Creation. Reflection 3, humility. Awe, wonder. I mean, when I was chatting to Alex on Wednesday last week, I said at the end of our conversation, ought we not to consider ourselves little more the one of 3 electrons in a lithium atom in the little toe of our left foot, relative to the immensity and the wonder and the complexity and the beauty of this creation over which God rules. The Lord is a great God, a great King above all gods. In his hand are the depths of the earth, the heights of the mountains are his also. The sea is his, for he made it. His hands formed the dry land. O come, let us worship and bow down. But there's one last little point that I want us to dwell on, because chapter 1 of Genesis is chapter 1 of an overall book, the Bible, of 65 books and a further 49 chapters ahead of us. And so it is, in one sense, wrong to rip it out and consider it just on its own. And the rest of the Bible tells us that this doctrine of creation shouts out to us that there is a God. So I jotted down Psalm 19 for you there. The heavens declare the glory of God. The sky proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. That there is a creation demands that there is a creator. It's a step of logic, isn't it? In fact, it's what your 5-year-old says. Your 5-year-old will say, "Oh, Mum, Dad, where do we come from?" She knows, he knows you can't have something without something behind it. You may remember the great and famous scientist Stephen Hawking's notable quote regarding gravity. Because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. He suggests that negative energy of gravity can balance the positive energy required to form matter, allowing for the spontaneous creation of a universe. In other words, something can come from nothing. The equally adept mathematician, John Lennox, said this: "What serves to obscure the illogicality of such a statement is the fact that it's made by a scientist. The general public, not surprisingly, assumes that the statement of science is a statement of authority. It is important to point out that this is not a statement of science, and any statement, whether made by a scientist or not, should be open to logical analysis. Immense prestige and authority does not compensate for faulty logic." What all this goes to show is that nonsense remains nonsense even when talked by world-famous scientists. Now, what is interesting is the Apostle Paul says that we humans deliberately suppress the truth of God because we want to get on and live life in God's world without any reference to him. And so it turns out that the 5-year-old, "Mum, where do I come, Tom?" is slightly more aware than the eminent scientist. Or perhaps you might say slightly less good at hiding his or her suppression of the truth. Okay, we must draw to a close. So the kids on the doorstep with a new uniform, just going off to school. Is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it the next day? There you are, the photograph taken. Have we told them we live in a world where there is a God who stands outside and beyond, that there is a personal God who made it all, that he has absolute authority over it all, that his authority lies in his word above everything else? Have we taught them, if you like, key stage 1? This is God's world, he made it. This is God's world, he rules it. This is God's world. We know it. Deep down, we know it. You can't have a creation without a creator. Let's pray together. In the beginning was the Word. We praise you, our Father in heaven, that before everything else, before even there was light, there was life. We bow before you, creator of the universe. We metaphorically kneel before you. We humble ourselves before you, living God. Thank you that you esteem those who are humble and contrite in heart and tremble at your word. Please fill us with an appropriate, a right sense of fear and awe and wonder at your majesty, your kindness, your greatness. In Jesus' name, amen.